That musical interlude provided to you live from the National Cathedral in Washington this morning by Douglas Major, who is the Cathedral's organist and choir master. Mr. Major, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to be with you this morning.
What was the piece you were playing?
This is music by Johann Sebastian Bach, and it's a chorale prelude based on the tune that we know as Good Christian Friends Rejoice.
Could you tell me a little bit more about the instrument you're playing?
This is a magnificent instrument. It is built by the Ernest M. Skinner Company with later additions. It has 185 sets of pipes for a total of about 10,650 organ pipes. It makes it the largest organ in Washington, D.C.
And how long has it been at the cathedral?
The organ was built in 1938, so it's, well, 60 years old now, almost 60 years old.
How challenging is it to play?
It's a wonderful instrument to play because there are so many tonal resources, from soft, beautiful, rich sounds to very loud and brilliant sounds. Because it's such a large instrument, the real challenge is deciding what sounds to use, or more importantly, in this case, what sounds not to use. There are so many choices. Well,
we're going to hear a little bit more in our brief visit with you this morning, and I want to thank you for allowing us to bring our cameras there this holiday week. This is one of the big weeks of the year for people who are in positions such as yourself. Tell me about your program for the holidays.
Well, we have the full range of cathedral worship services, of course, with Christmas Eve always being very, very popular, and then a live broadcast on Christmas Day. There'll be services of lessons and carols on the first Sunday in January. And we've been at it for about a month now, so it's been a very busy and wonderful season.
How many people will take part from your area of the cathedral?
There will be 40 in the choir, in the men and boys choir, and other musicians helping out in various capacities. And the girls choir will also be singing on Christmas Eve, so there'll be, a total of about 75 musicians altogether.
And you say you've been at the rehearsals for a month?
Just about, yes, with all of the other things going on, that's right.
What are some of the selections that you've decided to put in this year's program?
Well, we always try to sing the traditional carols, O Come All Ye Faithful, and Hark the Herald Angels Sing, and Silent Night. There'll be new compositions by the assistant organist of the cathedral, Nicholas White, a couple of pieces of mine, music by Lee Hoiby, music by Richard Dirksen, wonderful contemporary but in the classical vein kinds of choral music.
Well, you mentioned that there'll be a couple of pieces of yours. Would you mind playing a little bit of a piece that you've composed?
Well, I'd love to, but the piece that I wrote was actually for the choir, and there's no organ part. Somehow it's hard for an organist to write an organ part.
You can't replicate the replicate the sound of the choir for us this morning.
The organ can do a lot of things. That's one of the things it can do.
You have been at the National Cathedral since 1974. What's kept you there so long?
This magnificent building, I believe, has just been a very inspiring place in which to make music. There have been wonderful musicians for whom I worked when I first came on the staff, Paul Calloway and Richard Dirksen. And the combination of a wonderful musical tradition and a beautiful worship space in which to make the music is a magic combination for me.
You mentioned that there'll be a Christmas Day broadcast. Is it local or national?
That's a national broadcast on ABC television. That's right.
And how long has that been happening?
That's been going on since, oh my gosh, I think it's the early 60s now, so there are 30-some years of history to that live broadcast.
How long does it take for them to get the church cathedral ready for their broadcast?
Well, the crews move in about a week ahead of time. They have to do a lot of lighting. This place just loves light. It just takes as much as it can. The sound engineers do all of their work, and of course all of our crew are preparing the building for this event as well.
If you'd like to talk to Douglas Major, we're going to open up our phone lines. Many of you very familiar with the National Cathedral, also some familiarity with the classical music. It's just a little holiday selection here this morning, and a chance to learn a little bit more about how this capital city prepares for the celebration of the holidays. With the C-SPAN phone numbers on the bottom of the screen, and we welcome your telephone calls if you have a question about how it all works there at the cathedral. Tell me specifically about the job of organist and choir master.
My principal duty is leading the cathedral choristers, the boys' choir. There are 20 boys who are in the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade at St. Albans School, and they attend on musical scholarships. And they sing about 18 to 20 hours a week here at the Cathedral. These are very talented boys. They sing 5 and sometimes 6 times every week they're in school. And so that's my principal responsibility. I look after all of the music making in the building, the girls' choir program led by Mr. Bruce Neswick, and the men's choir, and musical cultural events, and our own sets of concerts. So it's a wide-ranging kind of a job, and I think that's another one of the reasons that I've enjoyed the work here.
In our final half hour this morning, we're going to be returning to the Cathedral and talking to the Dean. But I might ask you, for people who can't be with us for our whole program, can you tell us what place the National Cathedral has in the nation's capital? What's special about it?
Well, I think I'll probably let the Dean address the issues in terms of the whole institution. I think musically it has been a place of world premieres and American premieres. Culturally, the clergy and the staff of the Cathedral have always had a commitment to the finest in worship and music and cultural programs and artistic programs here at the Cathedral. And we'd like to think that we are the keepers of this magnificent place, but it must be a living place and not just a museum.
Let's take a telephone call for you. It's from Lee Summit, Kentucky. Good morning.
No, I'm sorry. This is Missouri.
All right, Lee Summit, Missouri. Sir, you also have the volume on your TV turned up just a scotch too high. Could you turn it down, please? And then go ahead with your comment or question.
Well, my question is, would he please play a Christmas box selection? That's all I want to hear, if he could please do that.
All right, thanks. Is that something you can do right now, Mr. Major? I know you're going to play a little bit more for us later.
I'd be happy to do that right now for my friend in Missouri. I used to live in Missouri, so I think I've even been to Lee's Summit. Here's a very gentle little piece, again called In Dulce Jubilo, and it uses this beautiful little sparkly sound here called the cymbal stern. And it has just some very gentle flute sounds on it.
Thank you for that. You mentioned that some of your selections during the holidays will be contemporary as well as classical. How well are the contemporary pieces received by the congregation generally?
I think the people enjoy hearing new kinds of music, new styles of music, mixed in with the traditional church music of the season. I think it's really important as well. I think people understand that they must continue to support living composers, or there'll be no music for our children and grandchildren. Speaking of the boys choir that you work with, do you travel around the country with them? We make one journey a year. We take a tour in March, and this year we'll be singing in San Diego and Long Beach and Los Angeles. It'll be very nice to get out of the cold Northeast and get to warm, sunny, I hope, California in March. Because of their work here, the choir is very much involved on an every Sunday basis, and so our principal work really is here. We try and reach out to our friends across the country through radio and television programs. Do you know specifically where you'll be speaking, or singing rather, in San Diego? We have a lot of viewers in that area. We'll be singing on Friday, March 13th at St. Paul's Cathedral in San Diego, and we're very much looking forward to that appearance. For those in the area, might note that on their 1998 calendars. Next telephone call for Douglas Major of the National Cathedral is from Sycamore, Illinois.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am so pleased to turn the television on and see one of my favorite places in the country. I'm a retired organist and choir master, and I used to spend a great deal of time at the cathedral while it was being constructed.
Well, you are a very lucky man.
And, well, lucky, I think if I had your position, I would feel like I had died and gone to heaven.
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you.
Sir, what's your favorite piece for the holidays, since this is your profession as well? Car caller from Sycamore?
Yes.
Do you have a single favorite holiday selection?
Oh, I think things like it's used all the time, not necessarily for Christmas, like the Vidor Toccata or the Moulet Toccata.
And who composed it?
Vidor.
Oh, Vidor.
French composer named Vidor. Yeah, so you like the big French music, yes.
I sure do.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Major, can you play us a little bit of it?
I'll play a little bit of the Vidor Toccata for my friend there.
I hope you don't mind the playing on demand here. We appreciate hearing from you.
I didn't bring the chart for this one, so I'll just play a few bars for you.
How much maintenance does the cathedral's organ require?
Well, it's a very stable instrument because it's a high-quality instrument, and our biggest challenge here is change of temperature. And anybody in the Washington area knows that we go from 0 all the way to 100 degrees, and so small changes of temperature in the building are the biggest challenge. The tuning, we have 3 or 4 major tunings a year, and then some touch-up tuning probably about once every 6 weeks, especially around the time of the season changes.
Where do you find people to tune the organ that's that large and that unique?
Well, there are several good service companies for pipe organs, believe it or not, in the Washington area. We have a very fine company called the Daffer Company who takes care of this instrument, and they've been with us for about 14 years now, and they do wonderful work.
Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, you're on for Douglas Major.
Mr. Major, it's truly a great thrill to see you on television this morning.
Thank you very much.
I have an album of you playing with the Empire Brass Quintet.
Oh, wonderful.
And I had the privilege of meeting and playing with several of the members of the quintet, several that weren't with it at the time and several that were.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I want to ask you? There's a lot of tremendous pieces that Bach wrote on that album. Who's your particular favorite composer for the organ?
Well, for the organ, it's got to be Johann Sebastian Bach. There's no one who comes anywhere close to him. I also like the French Romantic composers, Franck and Langlais and Messiaen, and there's some wonderful American composers for the organ as well.
What first got you interested in music? Do you remember?
I sure do. I loved to sing as a little child, and for Christmas on the year I was 6, which is a while ago now, I received a xylophone for Christmas, and I didn't care about the whole rest of the presents that were there, but I spent the next 3 weeks with the xylophone, and then I decided to begin studying piano, and I've been playing ever since.
And what point in your life did you decide it would be your career?
I think probably when I was 6 and a half. I didn't have a whole lot of other options, and it was the only thing I really wanted to do was to make music and play the keyboard instruments.
That last caller mentioned that he has an album you created. How many have you produced?
Let's see, I've probably been involved in about 20 different projects. There are 5 solo organ albums out on the Gothic label, and they range from Bach to contemporary things and some fun things as well, so quite a few.
For our viewers who are interested in hearing more, we're going to play one more piece for you as we leave this morning, but also that Christmas Day live telecast on ABC. You can certainly set your VCRs at home and record some of the music from the cathedral. Specifically, if they go to their local music stores, will they find some pieces that feature the National Cathedral choirs and organ?
Well, they can. The better thing to do would be to be in touch with, as I say, with the Gothic label. Some of the bigger classical CD stores will carry our things. A better thing to do, if they're in the Washington area, is come hear the choir live, because no recording can capture the sound of the music in this wonderful building.
And they're every Sunday.
And they're there every Sunday, that's right.
A reminder, our viewers will be returning to the National Cathedral during our final half hour, about 9:30 Eastern Time this morning, and be talking to the Dean. His name is the Very Reverend Nathan Baxter, and he'll be telling us more about the history of the National Cathedral and answering your questions and comments. We close this morning with Douglas Major by asking him to play us one more piece, and thank you again for all of your time and your music.
It's a great pleasure to be with you this morning, and I certainly do appreciate those intelligent phone calls from your very astute listeners.
Some sounds of the holiday season from the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C.